It's funny because when we put those motion detector light switches in the bathroom when they were kids, it's got a little motion sensor on it, and they thought those were cameras. So they would like stack up stuff in front of it when they were in there taking a bath because they thought that they were cameras.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
This is Laurie with Gastro Associates in Gainesville, Georgia, and you're listening to Help Me with HIPAA podcast.
Thank you for that intro. I am David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Cardin. But wait, before you fast forward through all the announcements... And you know who you are. You might want to listen so you know what's going on. So we had a listener, I won't say who he is, that said to me this week, I never knew you had a PDF download with every podcast from your podcasting app. And I'm like, we talk about it periodically in the intro. Well, and his response is, well, I skipped the intro because I want to get to the meat of the stuff. I'm like, but that's why you don't know anything, because you're skipping the part where we're telling you stuff that is outside the meat and potatoes. So for those of you who do that, I get it. I don't want to listen to the banter. I want to get to the stuff. Look, there's important things we talk about. It's not just fodder.
It's not just stupid stuff.
Not all the time. Sometimes it is. So for those of you who do not know, yes, we do have an app. And yes, we do have PDF show notes of every show that you can get from the app. What else do we have, Donna, that people may have missed?
Well, there's a lot of cool things about the app. And when I was at the SOMSA conference, somebody came out and said, I want to learn about this app. And so we went through it. And, we forget to tell people. So you can go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and look for Help Me with HIPAA. And if you're not finding it, make sure you're spelling HIPAA correctly because that seems to be a problem. But in the app, you have the capability of marking your favorites so that you can just go to favorites for ones that you want to reference later or you want to make sure you discuss or whatever. And then you have the ability to, on each episode, well, most of them. We didn't do a lot of the old ones, but I think we went back to probably the last 100 episodes. I don't know if we went all the way back any further than that. But you go to the show, tap the little present, because it's our gift to you, and it will bring up a PDF that then you can email to yourself to use in your HIPAA training documentation, because if it's not documented, it didn't happen. But if you're getting HIPAA training, then you should be documenting it. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
All right. So there is an app for that. And by the way, if you're skipping these, you may not know that there's a HIPAA boot camp coming up.
That's right.
So HIPAA boot camp's coming up in May 15, 16, and 17. So if you're interested in that, go to thehipaabootcamp.com. It is an amazing event that we turn on the fire hose and just fill you all with HIPAA love.
Feel the love. Yeah, but it's intense, but you're going to learn like you have never, people that think they truly understand it come to it and they're like, wow, I had no idea all the things I didn't know. So join us. Go to thehipaabootcamp.com.
Yeah, I do have a request though. We are getting a lot of feedback and messages via LinkedIn and Facebook and direct email, and those are amazing, and I do love them. However, other people don't see that. So not asking you to give me the whole message in a review, but I would love if you would review the podcast, give us a 5-star rating so that other people can then see the value and be introduced to it. So for those of you who are sending emails and messages through all these channels, fantastic. Take one step more and give us a review. It's because we haven't had one in a while. We have tons of messages all the time, but we haven't had a review in a while. And so it does help us to get the podcast out there. And for people who are thinking about listening to it, they read the reviews first a lot of times, and that's how they make their decision. So thanks for the feedback. However, we would like to have a review if you would so graciously do that for us.
Yes, we do enjoy our messages, though. We now have to start each week reviewing them. I got this one. He got that one. We got the... Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks,
great.
everybody.
I know. It's good stuff. So in today's episode, we're going to cover something that's kind of interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about cameras, because there's some crazy stuff going on around cameras. And this, I don't know if Donna, were you creating this episode when we started having the conversation about the new law that was in one of the states about putting cameras into like elderly care environments, or is this a result of that?
Yeah, I was already on this because we had multiple conversations with clients about it. You know, that's how generally I come up with things. It's in the news, or we have conversations, and then conveniently, this one got both.
Cool. Yeah. So what I got on my end was that one of the members of HIPAA for MSPs sent me a message, and he's like, my state is just passed a law that if you have an elderly family member in a care facility, you can now put in a camera in that room and monitor your loved one. And I was like, holy cow, what a mess this is going to be to deal with. And so I'm sure we'll dive down into that in this episode. But, we're all being watched all the time. There's, cameras everywhere. There's, got home security cameras, camera systems, and businesses, closed caption. You pull up to an ATM, there's a camera, dash cams. Everybody's riding around with cameras in their car. And God knows, anytime something happens, everybody's got their phone up, recording everything. They're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing, because, I'm a nerd. So I spend time on TV watching all of the true crime stuff because I want to understand. It's not like I actually am trying to understand what security could have prevented things, what mistakes people made, how people think. I'm weird. But there's a show called See No Evil, and it is how they solve crimes using CCTV and home cameras and all of those kind of things. So that's another reason that I try to figure them out all the time. And a lot of people want to put them in their office for many reasons. Safety and security generally is what it's all about, not about capturing some entertaining video clips.
All right.
But, I know you have cameras at home, and, and weirdly enough, I have 3 different brands of cameras around here. If something freaky's happening on one, I can shut that one off and, still rely on the others if I get security updates that I got a problem with. So.
Right. Yeah, we don't use them quite as much as we used to because, most of the kids have now moved out. But yeah, when they were home, especially during the summer, they're home by themselves. Man, we had cameras everywhere. I want to know everything you're doing.
Surveillance of your own children.
Absolutely. It's funny because when we put those motion detector light switches in the bathroom when they were kids, it's got a little motion sensor on it, and they thought those were cameras. So they would like stack up stuff in front of it when they were in there taking a bath because they thought that they were cameras. It's hilarious.
And you didn't tell them different, did you?
No, I did not. Like, I'm watching you everywhere you go.
And that's another thing, is that people now are like, where's the camera at? They're looking for them, and and you see the stories about the Ring doorbell, even though it has its own security issues.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about adding cameras in your office where you also deal with PHI.
Yeah, that's tricky. That's kind of, parallel conversation to the one we had last week about Alexa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same kind of concept. Alexa's listening and then sharing it with people. And that's not as often the case as the security cameras. And I've found that people have them in their office and they haven't included them in their risk analysis.
Yeah, that's bad.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to teach you two things. What you should consider when you're going to put a camera in your office, number one. And number two, here's how you do what we call a mini SRA. Because I'm going to put in cameras. I don't have to go and evaluate everything that I would normally do in an SRA, but I'd need to do a risk analysis about this individual project. So we're going to take you through what you would do. So everybody get out your pens and pencils, crayons and coloring books, whatever works for you, because this is how we would go about doing it. Right, David?
Yeah, I am ready. I have my crayons.
Okay, so first of all, this was surprising to remind people that they were like, oh, because a full face picture of an individual is PHI if it's associated with medical information.
Right.
And if I have a full face picture of an individual standing in my office.
Well, then you have PHI.
Exactly. Thank you for joining in. Participating in this episode. So there's a lot. I don't know how much you guys get it, but I mean, the city of Atlanta, TSA, all these folks are talking about using facial recognition software.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, add that in to the, cameras. So now I want the information on your camera and I can use facial recognition software and track people. And, we're not talking high-end electronics once you have that. So, and facial recognition, well, that's another rabbit hole. So let's don't go.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's its whole, AI and nerd factor of high. So we won't go down that. But we now know we've identified that, patient faces, and that could make us have PHI. We could also have the cameras where you could read a computer screen or paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Loaded with PHI. So that's the first step in our analysis. Is PHI involved? Well, it could be. So now we've got to figure out how we can protect it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've seen medical offices where they have the cameras, up above the front desk. So they're kind of monitoring the front desk people and all that. Well, like you said, you got those screens that are right there in plain view of the cameras. Patients are walking in. So there's just a lot. And typically you'll even have one on the front door so that, you can get a good facial picture of whoever's walking in, because obviously if somebody does something criminal, you want to have a good facial shot of those people.
And some of the cameras capture audio.
Oh yeah.
So you also got to worry about that. So now you're just adding to your potential for protected health information. So it could. And if you've got cameras, then there's a possibility you're capturing PHI. So that means we got to dig deeper.
Yeah. Not only is it a problem, or maybe a problem that you're capturing it, but then we got to figure out where is the data going.
That's right. Dum.
Or if there is no data, then, are you making sure that nobody else can see it?
Mm-hmm. So there is, there's a lot of people that will debate if you're using cameras only in public areas, does that count as PHI? And it's, standard HIPAA. That depends.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to make that and say, okay, well, that's not PHI, we don't have to worry about it, you need to write down why you decided that and put it in your documentation. Like, we did an analysis and we think this doesn't apply, and here's why, so that you can show you made a decision. And later they can say, well, that decision was wrong, if they feel like it, but it's that we actually evaluated it and this was what we came up with. So you want to make sure that you do that. Even if you decide that you don't have PHI, you're going to write down that you went through this exercise, because we know about documentation, do we not?
Yes. If you do not document it, it did not happen.
That's right. So, and, the OCR made it clear. You don't just say, well, the IT guy said we were okay, so we didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
That is not how it works. You need to know you're okay. You need to make a business decision. Okay, so then we say, all right, we could capture PHI. Now, what is the reason that we're going to put these cameras in? Where are we thinking that we're going to put them? And what is the purpose of it? Is the purpose to capture PHI? Well, then that's one thing. But if the purpose is to monitor staff and secure the facility, then, what can we do to potentially not capture PHI? Especially now, if audio, you're probably going to have to say, if you're going to capture audio, most of the bets are off because you never know what could be picked up. So, but what you're going to do with the cameras and where you're going to put them then becomes key to whether or not you have the potential of capturing information that you don't need to worry about versus information you need to protect. Correctamundo.
Right. Yeah, and you also have to look at the security side of those cameras. How are you going to put them on your network? Is it going to be closed into the network? Are you allowing viewing from the outside of the network? How are you securing those things so that voyeurs can't take a look at things that we'll talk about in a minute?
Yeah, really. Yeah, so you've got two issues here. Am I going to capture PHI? And if you decide you're not, that doesn't mean you're done. Now you say, what risk do these cameras being on my network potentially create for the PHI that's on there?
Mm-hmm.
So you got two issues you have to worry about. So the second one, you should worry about anything that you plug into your network, even for a minute, you should do this evaluation. So that includes, heating and air. If you're plugging it into the network, you should evaluate it. And a lot of times people forget that they have to do that. They'll just get to PHI isn't involved and they'll keep moving along.
Right.
But you can't do that. No. So now we've evaluated it. We realize PHI could be involved or impacted by adding these cameras. So now we go into, okay, what could go wrong? And how can we manage what could go wrong? That's the second step of a risk analysis. So now let's go look at all the different places you want to put these things and what could it capture.
Right.
And, some people just want to have a camera that's monitoring like where they keep cash.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you put that where it's facing the patient who's giving you the cash, that's very different than you put it, facing the staff and, looking down at the cash box.
Right.
Well, you're just full of help all of a sudden.
You cover it all.
Yeah, you're right, Donna. Keep going. All right. So you make those decisions about the placement of the cameras and where you're going to be able to put them. And then you should be able to tell, well, if I have found a way not to store PHI, then I'm going to look at, okay, who's going to manage these cameras on the network? Who's going to make sure that they get firmware updates? And believe me, they get updates.
Yeah. That was the point I was going to make, is that it's kind of like some of these routers people put in. They put them in, it's kind of a one and done. They don't want to touch them anymore. And the cameras are the same way. They have firmware that has to be updated. And of course, when you update firmware, then you need to kind of go back and reevaluate all the settings and the security, make sure none of that changed, because that can happen.
Yeah. Or they add security features that you never know you could turn on.
Yeah, that's true.
And, of course, you also want to make sure admin, please.
Yeah.
Please. And, you've got to say who's going to audit them to make sure that whatever you decide is going to happen is happening. And we get a regular report, whether it be monthly, quarterly, whatever you normally do with your other IT resources to, make sure somebody's paying attention. If I put things in place so that it alerts me or it shows me there's problems, yet I never look at those alerts.
Ain't doing you much good.
I know. It's like one time I had a client who was having all these problems with their claims getting paid years ago. That was my specialty. And I go, they're like, you have a problem. You got a little blood. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I go look, and for like a month, it had been sending them messages that said, there is a problem here, and this is what you need to do.
And nobody did it.
Nobody even looked at the messages. So I'm like, I don't know why I write stuff to send you these alerts. And all you do is go, okay.
Right.
You know, and it had them. I had documentation where it sent every one of them that had been ignored. So I go back to the boss and I say, here's what it is. And none of your people have looked at it. And he goes, well, that's impressive. Said, yes, it is. You know, but again, it's about paying attention to those things. And you've got the technical security of the security cameras. And this is one that people were really surprised about. And you and I both know how true this is. Well, we'll just have professionals install it.
Yeah.
You mean like people that do security cameras for a living? Yes. You know, because there's plenty of companies that's what they do. And it's very ironic that the people that do install security cameras don't necessarily understand network security. They understand the security cameras.
Right.
So,
yeah, their job is to make sure that the cameras work
and that you can get to them. And they don't worry about the security of the cameras themselves.
No, it's, back to like the same discussion with software. You remember the guy that was like, yeah, just share out the entire C drive of the server.
Yeah.
So that my software will work.
Shuts down all of your security, but in the meantime, my software will work.
Right. And that's kind of how they do these things. I mean, copier people kind of do that as well. I mean, I'm not speaking for all of them, but it is fairly common that they bring the machine in, they set it up, and it's got to work. It doesn't matter about the security aspect. It just has to work.
Yeah, they'll call up and say, I need the administrator username and password for your server.
Yeah.
So I can set up a copier. So it's the same concept that they would come in. So don't think that you can just say, well, we'll outsource that security element, because even if they say they do understand it, if their next question is, we need to work with your IT provider, you feel a little bit more comfortable. But if they never ask to work with your IT provider, then how could they understand the security of your network?
Yeah. Big red flag.
Yeah. So you've got to make sure any device that gets added to your network, you've evaluated the security of it. And that goes for buying old medical devices off of eBay or used device brokers or whatever. If you bring those things in and they're using Windows XP embedded, we still got to figure that stuff out. You've got to do an evaluation of, can I secure this device? So the same thing happens with the security cameras, but you have to take it a step further. So you don't want to skip, how is this going to impact my network? Whether or not PHI is involved in the cameras, you can't risk not evaluating what impact they could have on your network, even though you've determined that you're going to keep them from recording PHI.
Yeah, because if there's a way to hack that camera and then move from that camera into something else on your network, then now you've got a big problem.
Exactly. And by the way, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a famous case of that happening is involved the Merahi botnet. So we've explained DDoS before. We did when we were talking with Jack Rysider, who, by the way, if that latest episode, Jeremy from marketing, is freaking amazing. It's so cool. But it tells you how a hacker would go, get into your company as an insider and what they would do. But people hire him to do that. So don't worry about it. He becomes Jeremy from marketing.
Yeah.
But anyway, the DDoS is where, you think of your internet connection is sitting there and it's like the bouncer at the front door of the club, and they're controlling who comes in and out. And, you got to have some pull or be on a list to get into the club. And otherwise you can wait in line and hope the bouncer likes you enough, and don't you dare try to get around that bouncer, because boom, now they're going to keep an eye on you and possibly call some of their friends named Bubba to take care of you. But
so just make sure you're wearing the mini skirt and the low cut blouse.
Yeah.
Well, no kidding.
There's some variables you have to consider there too. Is what kind of club, and tell me about the bouncer. But imagine that it is a massive crowd trying to get to the club. And so now they can't control the line anymore. There's like 15 lines, and everybody's wanting in. And the people that are supposed to get in can't get in because the crowd's too big at the door. And the people that want out can't get out because the crowd's too big at the door. And the bouncer it just shuts down. He locks the door because he's got no other way to control things. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. That's what a DDoS is on your internet connection. So they take tons of machines and create all kinds of lines to try to get into your network, and it prevents people from going out or the right ones from going in, because you just have to lock your door is what your network starts to do. They just start locking doors. Because we're overwhelmed with the amount of requests that we're getting, and we know something's wrong. So we'll just shut down, which is, what I like to do when the calls get too busy. You get too many calls in a day, just don't answer any of them. So this is, we explain this because the Merahi botnet, they actually had some folks, by the way, all U.S. folks that developed it. So we're not talking, the Ukraine or anything, or Russia, but they developed it and put the source code out there. So now other people that want to run botnets are using that code.
Yeah.
And at one time they took 100,000 of them, and a vast majority were security cameras. Now we've looped back around. And they aimed them at a key server on the internet and basically shut down most of the East Coast.
Yeah, I remember that.
I know. It was like, what's going on? So you've got that to worry about in protecting them. And then, David, why don't you just share your trip to Shodan, just, as part of our researching for this episode?
So we've talked about Shodan before, but it's a website you can go to, and it kind of puts a lot of information out there about the Internet of Things and links to them and all that. So there are people that are constantly looking for all these Internet of Things devices that are on the internet and open and available because somebody didn't secure them properly, or maybe they meant for them to be open. But
yeah, right.
You can. This is there's a free plan, and there's also paid plans that give you more search results and all this. But basically, in researching this episode about how secure can some of these cameras be, it took me all of maybe 5 minutes to be able to see inside someone's living room. I saw an elderly gentleman sleeping in another camera feed. And I saw a very frustrated delivery guy trying to get a rug
that carpet guy
into a business for a very long period of time.
In Montreal.
Montreal, Canada. And this was a feed that was coming from their door entry system or something to that effect. Of course, I don't know what kind of camera I'm looking through. I just know that I'm looking through a camera into this lobby area thing. But the one that was really concerning the most really was watching the elderly gentleman sleeping in his bed, and I'm like, holy cow, this is not good. I mean, I'm okay with being able to look into a lobby, and there was nobody in. I could not see somebody in the living room camera, even though the TV was on, so I'm sure somebody was there, but I could see the couch and the TV and stuff like that. That's scary enough, but I'm in somebody's bedroom. That's
it made you feel creepy.
I wanted to I want to turn the microphone on and go, dude, secure your camera. Because I mean,
it takes a lot to make you feel creepy.
But well, the thing that kind of is scary about it is that how many other tens of thousands or millions of people are watching this dude? It's not like I stumbled across it. This took less than 5 minutes to find on a search engine, and it basically, was like, these are the top searches, and he was like in the top 5. So, it's like being listed on the front page of Google, basically. And I'm like, man, this is awful that,
I know,
that this camera system is not secured so that this gentleman has some privacy in his own room.
Yeah. So that's a perfect thing that brings us back around to you're allowed to put these cameras now in your senior living facilities and those kind of things. So because they would then go on the residents network, because there's no way for the senior living facilities that we advise that we would tell them to let those cameras be loaded on their network because you're not in control of them. And so then you've got people who don't understand security. They're putting them on the guest network, and, they're not planning on securing them. So we're opening up a whole new world of problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe that law that came into effect was in North Dakota, if I remember correctly. But how they're going to address this, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch. The only way I can think to possibly do it is to have the facility be able to provide the camera systems and not let each and every family bring in their own stuff.
Yeah, but then the facility becomes liable for making sure those cameras, so they're not going to want to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, you're telling me to put it directly on the patient or resident is what they call them, and I can't do that.
No, I mean, I don't really know because I've really tried to figure this out, within a reasonable amount of time, spent 15, 20 minutes on it, racking my brain going. Yeah, because I didn't go crazy with it, but just trying to think through this, I'm like, dude, I don't know a good way to make this happen. Because you can have them bring in their own cameras and their own Wi-Fi hotspots and all that to kind of pull it off your network, but it still doesn't get you away from the privacy and security concerns necessarily. And it's like
how they could be used improperly and secured improperly.
I know. And it's just the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this keeps opening up more and more problems.
Now, more questions you ask, the more questions you have.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but for me, it's, another example, because people are demanding, and I understand why they have that law, because some of this elder abuse and stuff that's posted on social media is just wrong.
Oh yeah.
It makes me want to walk in and just punch people right in the face
Woo.
For what they do. And I am not a violent person. But don't be treating someone who had a long life of dignity with such just complete disregard for their dignity and their privacy.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that makes me so angry. But, that I shouldn't even go down that path. Let me just say that'll get me up on the soapbox for real. But I understand why they're doing it. But people that don't understand all of those security concerns have, a problem because they're making the law.
Yeah.
But their constituents are demanding the law. I understand why. But it's almost like they're going to have a tech advisory board for all of the different legal bodies. And that's a mess. I'm not signing up for that job.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an issue that needs attention and it needs to be resolved. And I think that this is a good idea. It's just not an idea that I know how they're going to address the other problems that it now brings up.
Right. So it's all about the implementation and how you can actually make that happen versus the need for it. They're two very different problems. And it's going to be interesting because we know we'll end up talking about something that went wrong with that at some point.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt something will go wrong quickly. Because most of these facilities, they have, 2 people in a room or multiple people in a room. How do you record one person and not record the other person, especially if you're trying to record audio, which, I mean, that's another whole can of worms.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get around that, but I'm very interested in following it.
Well, what they're saying is it's going to be, the family's going to be allowed to do it. So therefore you're outside of HIPAA and all these other things. Well, I'm sorry, but all it's going to take is somebody getting mad at the roommate's family for saying something or doing something, and that crap ends up on social media.
Oh yeah.
You got a whole new problem.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I don't know. I try my best to resolve it because, in my technical mind, I'm thinking, okay, let's figure out the technical ways to make this happen and be able to deal with privacy, security, and compliance. And it's just like every road I go down, I get stopped and I can't figure out how to make this thing work.
And with us, that's just a horrible place to be because we keep going back to thinking about it.
I know. This will not beat me.
I am the master of my domain.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, that is a Seinfeld reference for those of you who know that episode. It is absolutely one of the most hysterical episodes of sitcom TV ever. Anyhow, so I think that, just with us swirling over the how do you secure these cameras in all areas is another indication of you have got to take the time to actually think this through and make sure that you are properly securing these things, because the last thing you want to do is add security cameras to make you more secure, but then they're the ones that give you a security breach. Ow. That would hurt. That would hurt so bad. That would hurt so bad. So keep in mind, if you're putting the kinds of cameras that are designed for homes and small businesses, that you need to make sure that somebody's thinking about the security on those things, because they are the ones that probably have the least amount. I'm connecting to mine and charging things and updating firmware just to install a new one.
Yeah, and some of those, the DVRs that capture the audio and video, if you have them on site, a lot of those don't offer encryption. So there's no way to encrypt the data, at rest.
Yeah. That gets back to where's it going to be stored? Because if I am capturing PHI and I'm going to store it on a local DVR, I've got to secure that local DVR or local hard drive. And if I'm going to move it to the cloud, then I got to have a BAA with whoever I'm storing it at if I got PHI.
Yeah. Good luck finding that. I haven't even been down that rabbit hole yet.
So, but, clearly there's a lot of things to think about. You can't just throw these things in. And, it's about having a proper plan. Obviously, we're advocates of figuring it out so that you do not have PHI that you're storing. Try your best to angle the cameras so that you're never getting PHI. That's the best way to do it. But then you still got to make sure you secure the cameras so that they're not a gateway into your network.
Yeah. And, people that aren't able to watch it from Shodan.
I know, right? Yeah, you want to go out there and see if you can find it right then and there just from an open internet connection, because the minute you can, you got a big problem. And having the ability to access them remotely, I would say make sure you're using a VPN.
Mm-hmm.
You VPN into the office in order to get to the cameras. You got to get to the office remotely. And, don't store the PHI. Make sure that it's got regular firmware updates and reviews. Make sure that you periodically audit that someone hasn't moved the cameras, because, that can happen.
Yep.
And, and they upgrade the cameras sometimes and they get a wider field of view. So now I get a nice upgrade on my camera, but now I'm capturing stuff I didn't realize I was capturing. So you got to pay attention to those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And please don't let security cameras cause you a security breach.
Sounds like a good title.
That's right. Yeah, I was going with smile. You're on. I started to say candid camera, but then that seemed a little too flippant. But But there you go. In this one episode, we've taught you that you have to worry about security cameras in a lot of different areas. And we've taught you how you would go about doing like a mini SRA. And we've identified all these things. Now you have to figure out, how are you going to protect yourself from all the things we identified? And, you can reach us at contact@helpmewith. Go to the Cardin HQ website, cardinhq.com, and sign us up.
Sign us up.
Sign us up.
All right.
We never promote the companies, and people are like, I thought you just did the podcast.
No, we actually have day jobs. Oh, that's funny. So that is our show for today, folks. Remember to follow us and share us out on your favorite social media site. Rate us on the podcasting app. Yes, we have our own. Who knew? We need your help spreading the word. And as always, you can send in your questions and ideas to us. Visit us on the web at Help Me With HIPAA. Started sending you to my site, helpmewithhipaa.com. It don't matter. You just type in HIPAA, you'll find us.
Yeah, you can visit us at HIPAAforMSPs.com, SecurityFirstIT.com, and CardinHQ.com.
I'm glad you spelled that correctly. Anyway, little inside joke there. So remember that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me With HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.